Oh yeah, back again. Considering we're heading for an international break, I thought I'd lend my voice to some super exciting Bristol Street Motors, aka EFL Trophy action. Got some National League Prem games as well, one of those highlighted. The other reason for lending my voice to this is to try and explain the mega clusterfuck that is the group stage of the EFL Trophy and remind what's going on. Only play each other once in these groups, and most of them are tied up, but I've tried to pick 4 games that do have a bit riding on them, so I'll sort of go through those as we get there. And of course the first thing they do is send us to the National League Prem instead. Actually not the worst thing. Get this out of the way. Though it is an all drafter clash, and an all newcomer drafter clash at that. Third v fourth. Tom's Gourlayverpool on 39 points, 10 points off the top. Then again, everyone's pretty cut adrift from OTB Craig at the moment. And then Craig Daniels is NottinGiant Forest, 2 more points further back, so 12 points off the lead, 7 points off second, and 2 points behind his hosts today. At the very end of sort of the rundown today, we'll go through the other 4 teams' results from the day, as well as the updated league table. We have reached a stage now where all 6 of the drafted sides in the National League Prem do occupy those top 6 places, but there is 20 points between 1st and 6th. Liam's Manchester staff bringing up the rear in that particular race, and actually is 4 points adrift of 5th as well. But 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, or at least 3rd, 4th and 5th I should say, very tightly bunched. Marshy side somewhere in the middle, sort of 2nd but clear of 3rd. I was about to say NottinGiant have the second best goal scorer in the league in the form of Vialli. Vialli would be pretty proud of that header from 20 yards, courtesy of a 5'7" midget winger. It's a funny one with this season. I mean, I don't think the title's done and dusted yet. I mean, as imperious as Craig Trudgell's form has been so far, still hasn't lost a game in the league. I think it's too early to completely write off everyone else, and especially Marshy side as at the head of the chasing pack. But the playoffs next season, next summer, should be a fantastic watch. 2nd to 7th all get involved, so 5 of the 6 teams almost certain to be in and amongst it, all fighting for that one extra spot in League 2 next year. I say it seems quite far off. This is the 18th round of this season, so we're not far off the halfway stage now. For today's game, despite actually only being third in the league, Kelleher had kept the most clean sheets in the National League Prem. So pretty impressive from the away side to grab at least 2, make that 3. Still 2. Maresca suddenly going very un-Maresca with a 4-2-4 to see out the game. That is a dicey decision. Wasn't even in the area, was it? And as he pleases, Niakate continues to step up for some unknown reason to dispatch his 3rd pen of the season. The gamble has not paid off, but more than a hint of luck there. Big win for Craig's team. Right, so this is where all the explanations are required. Like I say, I have picked games where there at least is something riding on it, but not games where it's a foregone conclusion what the results will be. I think a few of us are up against the under-21 versions of their A teams, so something like Southampton A under-21, or you can see Sunderland, Sheff, they should be absolute walkovers. So I've purposely avoided those, even if one of us needed a win against them, because it should just be an easy win. Swindon, on the other hand, should pose a little bit more of a threat. He says going down after 2.5 minutes. So yeah, trying to find Chesh's situation just to confirm. So he's currently sitting in 2nd in his group behind Thomas, but level on points with Swindon. So basically whoever wins this game definitely go through. Actually, Thomas would definitely be through on 6 points because not both of these can win. He's up against Swansea A under-21s. I'm going to say we'll do the result of that later, but I'm expecting a pretty comfortable result there. So yeah, all Chesh needs to do is actually avoid defeat. I'm not sure how, potentially alphabetically. He's currently ahead of Swindon despite the exact same record. 1-1, lost 1, scored 3, conceded 2. But his name begins with C, so as long as he doesn't concede twice, he should be right. Not sure who the Swindon manager is at the moment. They sacked John Gorman at the start of this season. A couple of names from the proper nostalgia vault there. Nicky Summerby and Janaga Fjortoft. Putting a little bit of jeopardy back into the game. Going into this final round of group games, there is only one other for 24 of us, is that right? that is definitely out already after 2 games, and that is actually myself. Group draw from hell alongside Tom's Red Whall and Calver's Dan City. Both of them beat me over the course of the first 2 games, so they've actually got a dead rubber against each other today, while I pick up a consolation 3 points against Burnley A's under-21s. Everyone else actually should make it through. Again, I quite like the Cups. It's normally quite interesting to see if there's a bit of rotation as well, see some players that we don't normally. That being said, Ange has gone in pretty hard with his lineup here. Quite a fun tournament to win. Connor won it last year, Connorwich City, and actually it gave him something to celebrate in an otherwise stop-start, slightly mundane season. He's one of a lot of teams, Connor, that are already through after 2 games. 6 points out of 6 will do it. Saw the little note at the bottom saying Ange is shouting and praising his team. Of course, wouldn't be able to do that on the new FM. There's quite a lot of things you can't do on the new FM, which is why for the time being I'm not even going to look into whether this can be transferred over. I don't think it could anyway, to be honest, but I'm quite enjoying seeing this as an extra bit of nostalgia now, FM24. I think it's only going to become more and more attractive the more that people play FM26. Sheff joining Thomas in the knockout stages. So next, West Brom B up against AFC Wimbledon, Zig's team. Again, another pretty punchy team he's put out. Right, graphic doesn't particularly tell any story whatsoever, especially as it cuts it off at the bottom. So I'll talk you through what's going on in Zig's group. There we go. So actually West Brom B are the only team in this group that have already qualified. They beat Warringham and Watford A under-21s. Zig then beat Warringham on penalties as well as also beating Watford A under-21s. So Zig just needs to avoid defeats, which he should be through. However, if he does lose, then he'll probably be out, because you'd think Warringham will beat Watford A under-21s. So like I say, this is why I've brought my voice to the occasion today, trying to work all this out. So yeah, we will lose at least one or two others today. Certainly from this group. I think that's the reason I chose, well, other than expecting fully Warringham to win that game, it being quite dull to watch. This one informs the outcome of the other. But at the moment, Matt's hammers are gone. Yeah, so far, I'm mostly just surprised at the strength of the teams being put out. I suppose the international break means that any injuries or fatigue only really impacts the countries rather than them. Can't imagine FM's really gone that far with their thought process. West Brom B are actually in League 2 with a lot of us this year, rooted to the bottom of the table. But won't have seen too many highlighted games because I usually focus on the all-drafter clashes. Can't believe I've been missing out on Ronnie Warwick and Nathan Ellington all this time. Jason Kumas. Marc-Antoine Fortuné. This is really what I created this for. Should be Zig through and Matt gone, I'm afraid. West Brom B doing all their early work before this matchup, paying off. Well done, Zig. West Ham C up against Harry Pally. Slightly changed side for Harry, actually. Arsene Wenger not giving as much of a crap about the Bristol Street Motors Trophy as he absolutely should. Try and find Harry's situation. There we go. So he's actually in the same group as Bustin Villa. Bustin currently sitting on 5 points, Harry 4, West Ham C on 3, and then Bournemouth A under 21s understandably on 0. So you'd expect Bustin to comfortably win that other game, put him through on 8, and that just means Harry only has to avoid defeat, and he's made a good start to that. So hopefully you can sort of see my logic between the games I'm trying to find. Oh, David Dunn. First goal in PLP land, at least for the drafters. Spent last season at Jazz of the Rovers as an inherited player. Was part of quite a mammoth trade deal, if I remember rightly, over the summer. That's led him to Selhurst Park. Jamie Redknapp was picked up in this iteration of the summer draft. And actually, I remember thinking at the time it was probably the best pickup of the lot. He's still incredibly young on the game, hugely high ceiling. hugely impressive from long range, it turns out. If he can avoid injuries, or the same injuries he had in real life, he sort of falls into that same category as Michael Owen or Michael Johnson at Man City. Seth Johnson, there's a few there that got a second chance of having a good career in made-up land. Darren Anderson's another. He's getting a really good run of games at White Hart Chamberlain at the moment. Another player suddenly appearing on the screen more than he was is Andy Johnson up front today. Didn't get a single game for Harry last year, but scored a couple of weeks ago. Starts today. Interesting to see if some of these players do evolve in ways we couldn't have expected. I sort of thought the likes of Chris Armstrong would have had a similar trajectory, but still not seen much of him yet. So yeah, obviously I picked games that might have had something riding on them. All have dealt with it pretty comfortably so far. Spend the second half seeing if West Ham C have got any fun names. Not really. Jack Collison, Sebastian Schemmel, that Diafra Sacco, I presume, up front. Yeah, not bad. Hello Di Canio, that's a name we prefer to see. Trevor Morley. Again, I'm not sure how many of the 28 remember Trevor Morley. Or Martin Allen for that. In fact, anyone who doesn't remember Martin Allen, he pretty much used to do that. And David Luiz used to do that. I like that Jack Collison's hair is brighter than the sun. Obviously paid very special attention to that when I was creating him. What's the orangest you have, please? Harry joining Bustin in the knockout rounds. Presumably, unless... No, in fact, yeah, Bustin's definitely through as well. And this, on paper, should be one of the trickier games. Off a pretty strong lineup. That's Pochettino on behalf of Dear Lawrence. Brighton B. They're another one of the League Two sides. Fair enough, they're sitting in 21st, but they're the third best of the 6 non-draft sides, if that makes sense. Goes Man United C, Chelsea D, Brighton B, then Barnsley, West Brom B, and Sheffield Wednesday B, who are only got 2 points so far this season. Anyway, I need to try and find out what White Hart Chamberlain's deal is. So they're actually sitting in third behind Brighton B before this game. So this is the only one of the highlighted games where they really do need to win. Draw wouldn't be enough. They're both 3 points behind the Skyloos, who already hold 6 and face Birmingham under 21s. So again, they'll be through. White Hart Chamberlain, not so secure as things stand. Very young addition to the PLP database, Harry Howell. He's only about 16. Getting game time, getting goals. Yeah, that Brighton team's pretty handy. Yeah, not Darren Anderson. And Michael Dawson, lesser seen. Lesser seen centre-backs are talk of the town at the moment after John McGreal's unexpected appearance in League 2 last week, and then making his way into the team of the week for a very excited Craig Bolge. Immediately dropped afterwards, of course, but good fun while it lasted. So, barring a late disaster, the only casualty to report from the 4 highlighted games is Matt Warrington's Warringham, following Sig's AFC Wimbledon's win. So he immediately joins me, which isn't a bad thing actually. We're the ones that have got Champions League football this year, so taking these fixtures off the schedule could be worse. So from this point on, I'm expecting quite comfortable victories, I'd have thought, when I go through the rest of the results. Alright, so this was the All League 2 clash. Doesn't really matter, they were both through anyway at my expense. Just a quick look. Brace for Gakpo. Again, they both took this remarkably seriously, considering absolutely nothing riding on it. I suppose Brightwell and Honsho are not really regulars. Always good to give injury-prone Michael Owen a pointless run-out for no reason whatsoever, and to injure Laurent Robert and Pavel Srnicek in the meantime. Clever Sir Bobby. Dan City wide, comfortable. Good week for him actually. Decent win at the weekend. Easy win for Ellister, as you'd expect. There's a lot of class difference between these two lineups. Pretty much top of League 1 at the moment, up against an under 21 complement. Good to see Zola getting some game times and on the score sheets. Alex Todd having a very good week. This was one of the tougher games, but he was pretty much already through. But he's moved himself up the league table over the last couple of games. Grab another win here. Despite the avalanche of aggression and yellow cards from Wigan B. Steve Bruce working wonders. Foyverton actually losing out away at Newcastle C. I'll be honest, I can't remember right now whether that's a problem. I don't think it is. Try and quickly look. No, he's already through. In fact, Newcastle C and Foyverton were both through, so bit of a dead rubber. Draw after 90. Loss on penalties. But yeah, they're both through, no problem. These two were also guaranteed a place in the knockout rounds for today's game, and both, again, quite stupidly put out very strong sides, or at least Dauncey did. Yep, so did Connor. Nani getting himself a red card, suspending himself for the return from the international break. Smart. But the reigning champs through with an undefeated record. Jazz of the Rovers. Now this actually did have something riding on it, if I remember rightly. Yeah, so he was sitting in third before today's game, so I could have shown it, but again it was the opponents that put me off, and rightly so, based on that result. Sheff taking on Ree's place at the top of the field. Fun few names in there. Again, a bit like Ellister, massive golfing class here. Levi's FullofStrangeham, one of the favourites for this. Comfortably through. Arsened, already through, but Ned will be happy to see that he's beaten a Spurs side nonetheless. Nice Saka brace. Tottenham C, actually one of the better sides you could come up against. They're disrupting League One's playoff chase at the moment, much to Thomas's annoyance. Another just enough win for Bolge. He's going to love that Royce played. Matt Holland off the bench. Sheff off the bench. Good day's work. There's the Thomas win that we expected. Let's confirm his place alongside Sheff from that group. Might be a first goal for Adingra since being drafted in the summer. Warringham getting the win, unfortunately as we expected. Not enough to take him through. So West Brom B really the biggest disruptor, or surprising disruptor from the overall group stages. Like I say, I was just unlucky to be in a extremely strong group with two other drafters that are with me chasing promotion at the moment in League 2. West Brom B would be the surprising one. Saw the 6 result. Talked about Bustin's presumed win, and he's pulled that one off. Lee Hendry getting a game. He's another one actually that probably has quite high potential coming into the game at a young age. Sky Lose we talked about, already through, but ensuring 9 out of 9. Peter in Love. And Paul Telfer. Mustafa Hadji, haven't seen too much of him this season, but getting himself on the pitch as well, alongside Darren Huckabee. Quite a fun one. And, oh, don't know if this is a dangerous result. Certainly an unexpected result. No, Daniel C were already through. So they will finish second in the group in the end. Coventry B will have leapfrogged them, complete with a Kobe Jones brace and a Julian Derby goal. A 70-year-old Kenny Sampson on the bench. Dave burst. His leg's back in place. Right, so I'll just go quickly to the tables. So it's an absolute faff, this competition, but at least the hard part's done. So yeah, no casualties. Levi through, Ned through, Bolge through, Thomas and Chesh both through, Zig through, Warrington out, Bustin and Harry both through, Louis and Lawrence both through, Gregory, Danji pushing his luck, but through. Up north, Calv and Tom Wall evicting me. Wyman comfortably through. Alex actually, oh yeah, I forgot he beat Matty Ellis on pens recently. He's through alongside Matty. Foyster's through, albeit second after that penalty loss to Newcastle C. Connor flipping Dauncey to top spot, but they're both in. Oh, and Shaz's result wasn't enough. I do apologise. I presumed a win would be enough regardless. But I think the fact that the other game was a draw and went to penalties, therefore you get the complimentary 1 point, bonus point. Actually no, that just the fact that Sheff got a draw at all. So that's 3 of us out. Myself, Jazz and Matt Warrington falling at this opening hurdle. Right, National League Prem, I haven't forgotten about you. Jesus. Story of Liam's season so far. Any kind of momentum immediately ruined by something stupid. In this case, a double red card, courtesy of Rocco and Ian Hart, who finally gets a start and then lets everyone down. Again, you would expect Liam to make the playoffs, and if he does, you wouldn't want to play him still. But he's making hard work of it. Drop points for Marshy as well. At home to Aston Villa, 2 injuries foiling his day. Marmouche and Ugarte. Looks like quite a heavily rotated team actually. I know they played at the weekend, so it might be the 2 games in 3 days that have thrown people off. So I did see a very unexpected result here as well. Still no loss this season, but that'll be slightly annoying, I'm sure, for Craig Trudgell. Not the best performance either. Got to say that Middlesbrough's 2024 assortment, good value for that point. Still undefeated though. And Luton, finally, joining his mate Gourlay to actually win a game in the National League Prem this midweek. Why on earth is John Stead leading the line for a Newcastle team? Right, so finally just look at the league table there. And we'll see that Liam is still holding on to 6th. Burnley B must have dropped points as well, but I mean, he's got a big chasing group now, all the way down to Fulham C, who beat him today. Looking quite adrift from the top 5. But Marshy really missing out on an opportunity to close the gap on OTB Craig. The big win in the league, though, goes to NottinGiant Forest, who've moved up to 3rd and within 10 points of that first place. I think that's everything. That was a tough one. Like I said, there's a bit of a gap now. I think there is the chance that, quick look now. Yeah, Liam is supposed to be playing still. on Saturday. So if that's the case, I'll bring that live game. Otherwise, I'll be back with everyone's games after the international break. See you then.